What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Punting for the People. For those of you who are new here, my name is Jacob. This is my YouTube channel. I am an Australian. I live here in Germany, at least for the next couple of weeks, until myself and my German girlfriend Marianne relocate back to Australia. If this is your first time here, I would love to have you as a subscriber, so do consider hitting that subscribe button. Also consider hitting that thumbs up button to help the algorithm. And also throughout the video, leave your comments, let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear what you have to think about my story. That story in question is, of course, what the video is titled, and that is how I nearly got deported from Germany, or I nearly got deported from Germany. It's a long story. We'll try and cut it down as quickly as possible. So as the title obviously explains, I was almost deported from Germany last week. It was an incredibly stressful and incredibly scary moment in my life, probably the most scary moment I've had since being here in Germany. One of those situations where your heart kind of just drops into your stomach, I'd say, or completely leaves your body. That's how I felt, because it was crazy to say the least. So there is a lot of complicated stuff that comes into this story, but to put it the most basic way as possible, I am obviously not an EU citizen. I am from Australia. Australia is, for all of you geographical nerds, not in the EU, and I don't have a dual passport. I'm not half German, half British, half Italian, like other YouTubers here on this platform. That obviously means I have to have my visa in order and fully up to date in order to stay in the EU and obviously inside of Germany. This is something that we thought we had organized. If you have been part of the channel for quite some time, you know that I had visa issues last year with being freigestellt, or being laid off from my last job, becoming unemployed, going through the whole Arbeitssuchen, or searching for employment process here in Germany. It was actually pretty straightforward. It wasn't too difficult. There were some appointments that I had to go to, but it was relatively easy, to say the least. So that leads me to the start of the story of the video, and that was because we are relocating, because we are wanting to move to Australia, there's a lot of things that we have to plan. And normally when there's a lot of things you have to plan with a cross-continental, other side of the world move, you need some spare time. And when it comes to spare time, generally you don't want to be working during that time. So what me and Marianne did was we obviously ended our employment earlier than our decided moving date, and decided to get things moving from there. Selling things, cancelling the lease, moving here to Dresden, as I mentioned in a previous video. Obviously that would mean Marianne resigning from her job and me resigning from my job. Now, Marianne resigning from her job is a little bit different. She's German, it's a little bit easier for her. Me, being non-EU, being that my employment is basically the one thing keeping me here in the EU or in Germany, it's a little bit more complicated. So early in the year, around June, July, when this all was coming to fruition, we decided to ring the authorities, ask them, hey, this is what's happening. Jacob's visa's up in November. He is most likely going to get a new work contract, but if he doesn't, or if we don't want to accept that contract and we want to leave, how would it work? Could he leave his job and still have a visa to stay in the country? Generally, the gist of what it was they said, yep, that would be no problem. Jacob's been here for many years now. If he was to end his job, he would become Arbeitssuchen, or searching for employment. You would have to register as Arbeitslos, or unemployed. And the whole system, or the whole process that he had when he was freigestellt, basically remains the same, except for the fact that because he quits his job, he may not be entitled to unemployment benefits, which we kind of understood to begin with. If I'm going a little fast, I'm sorry, but hopefully you're keeping up with this. But the gist of things, it would run the same way as it did last time, except for I wouldn't be getting money from the government, which I didn't really want anyway. So with that information from the correct authorities, we obviously spoke to the Agentur für Arbeit, the Arbeitsamt, the Ausländerbehörde. They all gave us the same reasoning. They all confirmed this for us, which was great. So long story short, we ended our employment in the early stages of October or early September for us to end in mid-October. So we were unemployed as of mid-October via government ruling. We were officially arbeitslos, so unemployed. That's when we then started to sell our things, move from an apartment in Hildesheim to the apartment or the house here in Dresden with Marianne's mum, and so on and so forth. That takes some time. Basically, I went to the Agentur für Arbeit, had a meeting with them, and they confirmed that I was Arbeitssuchen, Arbeitslos. They sent me mail saying, hey, unfortunately, you're not going to get Arbeitslosengeld. You have a 3-month locking period, but you're still insured, all this kind of stuff. So everything was normal. Now for the exciting part. In Germany, when you change locations or when you change addresses, you must register and deregister and show them that you're actually moving and give them your new address. much like every country. It's a little bit more complicated, but at the same time, it's not very hard. So last week, we actually went to the city office. We went to the city office to enroll and say, hey, we've moved from Hildesheim, we've now moved here. This is what we'd already done online through the online portal. And now we've done it face to face. We had to present some ID. We had to show them, hey, this is us. We're now moving here. Everything was done. We did that. It was okay. Then Marianne thought, hey, obviously your visa is only until November 1st. We haven't heard back from anyone yet. So we should actually go and talk to them and say, hey, you're moving to this address. So everything should get done at this address. So we went to the Ausländerbehörde and it was actually very close to them closing. We went in, they asked, we had an appointment, we said no. The security guard was actually very nice and went and gave them our details. We then sat there for about 20 minutes. They took my passport, they took my Aufenthaltstitel, everything like that to go and see what they could do, even though they were closed. So it was actually really, really nice of them to even see us, let alone have this whole event happen. After about 20-30 minutes of waiting, basically all we really wanted them to do was to print off a Fictionsbescheinigung for me, which I should have been getting to begin with, but I hadn't received yet because last time I got it in the mail to our address in Hildesheim, but obviously because of the move, if it was sent to Hildesheim, I didn't have it. If it was in the process of being sent here in Carmen's, I didn't have it. So I needed something. After about 20 minutes, they pulled us through to the office and this very nice looking employee was standing there. He had my passport, my ID, and a whole bunch of paperwork in his hand. And that's the first time that I thought to myself, oh boy, this could be not good. My German is not bad, I would say. I understand majority, if not all of the things that are being said. And the first thing that was said to Marianne and myself was, you have been in Germany illegally for the last 4 days, so we are giving you 7 days to leave the country. Otherwise, you will face a 1-year lockout of being able to enter Germany. And if you aren't gone in 7 days, expect the police or the army at your doorstep. Whoa. There was no details in the system of me ever applying for the Fictionsbescheinigung, registering all this stuff that we've spoken with the Hildesheim authorities about. There was no notes in the system of the phone calls, all this kind of stuff. Using my best German that I possibly could, I asked the employee, do you keep records or do you record the phone calls? Because multiple times we've spoken to them about this and they've told us that it was okay. Unfortunately, they don't record the phone calls, and from what I was told, they also don't put them into the main system. They don't record notes or anything, which I thought was kind of crazy considering my previous jobs working in call centers. Anyone calling, everything was recorded, everything was documented in their file. So the fact that this is a giant, big system designed to keep people legal in the country, the fact that calls aren't monitored or at least documented was kind of weird to me. There was no communication from the Hildesheim side of things to the Carmen side of things. So technically, I was illegally staying in Germany. After a whole bunch of explanation on both sides of things, from us and from obviously the employee explaining the situation and what I would have to do, I was slowly in my mind thinking about the next closest non-Schengen country like Romania or something like that I could visit and come back as a tourist, all this kind of stuff, all the ramifications of this, how this would affect our move, everything like that. After a whole lot of this, Marianne trying to get in contact with the authorities in Hildesheim to explain the situation, I was trying to explain it to him, letting him know that we're only here for another month, we've got a plane booked, all this kind of stuff. And the fact that we've obviously done this before with last year with my Fictionsbescheinigung. So after all this, the employee was really just kind of like, I can't see anything, I have to stick to the rules. The rules show that you are not meant to be here and that you have 7 days to leave or there will be trouble. We tried to call the Hildesheim office, they tried to call the Hildesheim office, being that they were meant to be closed already, and it was actually by this time after hours. They couldn't get in contact with anyone in the Hildesheim office. They actually called the Oberbürgermeister or something like that for us, trying to get something done for us, basically. Marianne was in hysterics because she was thinking I was going to be deported. I was speechless because this stuff just shouldn't happen, especially when you plan it out like we have. Yeah, it was a big, giant mess. But I'm glad to say that it was figured out. The employee actually printed out a Fictionsbescheinigung for me, allowing me to stay here until the end of the year, just in case something happens with our flight. Not very likely, but just in case. I have to present this document upon leaving the country, they have to sign it and send it back here saying, hey, yes, Jacob actually did leave. Unbelievably stressful and a ridiculously crazy moment in my life where I really actually thought I'd be having to quickly book a flight to get out of the EU and then being stranded somewhere for a day and then having to fly back in as a tourist, go through all of that, go through all of the restrictions and the requirements for travel, and then only just to basically come back for less than a month to then travel all the way back home to Australia. So this is one of those things that when you think everything is completely under control, you've crossed your T's and dot your I's, Germany comes up and says you forgot to dot the umlauts or something like that. It was crazy. It was something that I definitely thought would make for an awesome explanation or story time here on the YouTube channel. For all of my non-EU citizens that are traveling to Germany or traveling inside the EU, please double check all your documentation. We did that. We thought everything was okay. Obviously, there was a bit of a breakdown of communication between the different Ausländerbehörden in terms of my situation, but it got sorted out in the end, which I'm incredibly grateful for. The last thing we wanted was obviously for me to be illegal in the country for the couple of days that it was, or for any kind of trouble to happen in this last 5-6 weeks of us being here as residents. So incredibly crazy time, and definitely a story when I get home to tell the friends, the family, and anyone who is thinking about moving overseas. So that is the story time, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed my pain and my stress and Marianne's stress. She was super stressed out in this moment. Luckily, everything has been sorted out. I'm able to stay until we leave with no issues at all. If you guys have had anything like this happen to you, please do leave a comment below about this, but hopefully it is never going to happen to any of you and hasn't happened to any of you. Let me be the example of what not to do or how to be more prepared, even though same thing, like I said, I think we were very, very prepared. We're still not quite sure how this happened. But that is it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, leave your comments below, and let me know what you thought of the entertaining journey that we went through the other day. Until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Jacob. This is Punting for the People. I'll see you guys in the next video.